Hello and welcome to Debate and Discussing Point. Today, we'll be talking about Hitler and his foreign policy. Now we have a special guest joining us today, a man who is very close to this topic and a close friend of mine. Jay Thomas. It's lovely to see you again, Jay. Now what do you think of Hitler and what he did with his foreign policy?
Well, for starters, thanks for having me, Jay. Many people who know about him often tell me of how bad he seemed. In fact, in some cases, and behind the scenes, he seemed a very sociable person. It was often known to people in his country and elsewhere that he was trying to make them hate him, but this was not true. Anyway, Hitler's foreign policy was not bad, if in some parts a bit mean. I will explain a bit about what he did with it later, as it may seem a bit complicated if I tell you about it now.
Okay. So what if Hitler signed an alliance with Poland? Would the opposing country accept, and for what reasons would there be? Let's say, for example, if they were to accept the deal, and with good reasons.
Well, Germany didn't want Poland to go under French or Russian control, and that if they did it would mean that there would be pressure, and leaving Germany weak would have outraged Hitler himself. Many parts of Poland were parts of what used to be Germany, and the people of Germany were outraged at this, at the end of World War I. Hitler had many good reasons as to why he didn't want to side with France or Russia, because they had taken German-loved towns and cities and all they wanted was friendship. How were they supposed to be friends when all this was going on? It just didn't seem right. The best option to go for would have to have been Poland, because Hitler wanted to gain what his country had lost.
And if the Polish didn't accept?
Well, if they didn't accept it, then it would ruin Hitler's reputation. He was a man of promises, and this was one of his promises. He often thought of the opposite angle, and how the Polish would feel as be one whole united country, away from the hands of France, or Russia, or Germany.
So why, later on in 1934, was Hitler tempted to invade Austria?
The takeover itself by some German-speaking parts of Austria would have welcomed Hitler and his plans to make Austria better than it was, before someone else came along. Many of the Germans in Austria and the Austrians themselves looked on at Mussolini with unencouraging looks, as if he was suspicious of something. To Mussolini's surprise, the Austrians and the Germans much preferred Hitler. It was also to lead Austria to the top, after the assassination of Dollfuss, the leader of Austria. Hitler denied having any doing with the assassination of Dollfuss, and regarded the Austrian assassinators with disgust.
I see, so what did Hitler actually do?
He backed off Austria, so that they could mend relations with Italy first. In my view, this would have been the best option. Also, if Hitler proposed to use the military route to take over, both Britain and France made it clear to Hitler that, if they wouldn't agree with what he did, and wouldn't support him, like they did before. There was also some angry and disappointing news. At that time, the German army was still weak. Mussolini sent troops to the outskirts of Austria. This was called the Brenner Pass. It was done to ward off Hitler from seizing control. Somehow, nothing could stop that man from doing what he wanted. He had Germany in his hands, and he was going to risk everything he had, just for his people.
You say that the German army was still weak. So, how did Hitler respond to this?
Well, he immediately began to rearm Germany. He gave the people, the ones who wanted to be a part of the army, a conscription, a deal. He held massive rallies. He also planned to increase the size of the army to 36 divisions.